there's plenty of ways to anchor your traps in the ground, and I'll show you what I use. They started off with these cables with the super stake and Fox Hollow, I believe, super stakes. They worked really well, but the cables, I kept snapping them because of all the rocky terrain in the Catskills, and Pennsylvania is full of rocks also, but I would snap those quite often. So then I went to number 2 chain, same setup, the super stake, but I used an S hook and I welded it. You need to weld it or that'll peel off when you go to pull it out of the ground. So the problem with number 2 for me is I was bending it also, and I snapped a lot of them. I snapped most of them, my number 2 premium chain I had. So that's when I said, okay, I have real frozen -20-degree temperatures. I'm going through frozen ground and all rock. So I went to number 3 chain, premium chain, same thing, super stakes, and I ended up welding the S hooks on there, and I got the crunch proof swivel, which is really nice, and a trap tag out of the way. And this is my pretty much go-to setup. I really like this the best, number 3. I bent a couple of them, but a little, but I never broke them. And it's very strong. I can pull a bulldozer out of the ground with that. But the big problem is if it's frozen in, sometimes you just have to wait and let it thaw out, because you'll never get it out unless you hook it to a quad, and even that you'll break a lot of them. So I used to have to dig a couple out when they were really stuck in there. But number 3 premium is my favorite. Get it a little longer if you got especially wet ground, loose soil. You probably want a little longer chain to go down deeper. But also, when I was adjusting the pan, I hit the step down latch and I said, oh, I'm halfway there. Usually step down latch you stop, but on some of my traps I adjust every one when I buy them, and then I set them all up before I wax and dye them. But now I hit the step down latch, and now there's still movement. See on that one? That one has movement up and down. So because of that movement, for Bobcat, I set it a little lower like that. I don't want that pan moving. If they feel that movement under their foot, or a fox especially, he's gonna jump it probably. So I'll like set it like right about there, and I know that's gonna get him pretty good. Once he touches it, and I got a nice depth, so I'm still gonna grab him pretty decent. And with these small little jaws, they seem to hold on pretty well actually. I seldom lose them. Even 2 toes I catch them, and they're waiting there for me. So the tip is for Bobcat and Fox, I would go down, step down latch it, and then from there I would go down just a hair like this. If I'm going to go for Coyote, I'll keep it full right up, or maybe a little bit, but not too much, because they got a lot more weight. They'll get them anyway. But that's pretty much a big trick there. Make sure this is moving easily, but you don't want slapping it, you don't want no wobble, but you definitely don't want it binding up. I like hair trigger more than 5 pounds or 6 pounds, because I catch a lot more. I don't want them putzing around. Even raccoons, I'll catch them right away. So that's a big trick right there. Make sure when you set them, like some of them, like this one, I'll hit the step down latch, click, and it goes right away. So you have to check everyone when you're setting them and make sure your pan tension, know where each trap falls. Or everyone is different. They're all adjusted a little off, a little different, but make sure you know where your tension is and how you want to set it for what animal you're targeting. Like bridger number 2, I could go for pretty much everything from raccoon, fox, bobcat, coyote. And then like here's a bridger number 1.5. If I got to get a pesky squirrel out of the way, I'll use that. But a raccoon, possum, muskrat probably, all that mink, this will hold them a lot better than having that gap in there for smaller animals with their little front paw. And this I'll just use number 2 premium chain. I think that works a lot better. Like this is a really good setup right here. If you got deep, like soggy conditions or wet or muddy, and it goes in real easy, your drive that all the way down. Problem is when you go to pull it out of the ground, you can't really grab here, so you're gonna have to be pulling at a weird angle. Makes it a lot harder to get this system out. That's why I like the chain. I just hook a crowbar or a big breaker bar type setup, a trap puller, and pull it out that way. And you got so many links you could go on and just keep pulling a little at a time with leverage. Just don't pull toward your face, because it can mess up. And this was a new trap I got. I believe it's a Bridger Alpha number 2, and I like the dogless on everything because I don't want anything to have to flip over. You could bind up, they could step on it, there could be a lot of issues. I mean, I still catch animals, with them, but I'd rather not have that there. I'd rather just let it fall and clear. So this one, it's brand new. I just bought it this season. Clicks, step down latch. It's got big wide jaws, help comfort them. Yeah, it works pretty good. I was hoping to catch something with this one, but all my Bridger's number 2s came through. And I cut it down, the pins, so I don't get all bending. I see on another video, somebody had it bent on them, so that's really a big issue, bending. So like Papa Rome says, we cut them down short. That's plenty. I never had any issues with them. If you're going to 4-coil them, just pull that out and put a longer one and 4-coil it. But if you 4-coil some of these, like Bridger number 2s, or see, you have to reinforce it because it'll actually bend it. So I've been using 2-coil for everything. I've never had a problem. Even that 50-pound coyote, he never pulled out, and he was only caught by his toes. So also hand tension for Bridger number 1.5. Right there. So 1.5. So it's on the step down latch right there, and I leave it there. I don't adjust the tension on these at all. Once it goes, it goes. It's actually really nice. The Bridger 1.5s. These are actually pretty good, very nice little traps. Pans bend a little bit, so you have to adjust and make sure they're all always working great. But the pan tension on this, I never have to set. Once I put that step down latch, and I already pre-adjusted them before. Whenever you set your traps, before you wax and dye them, you want your pan, you want it nice and level, or even a hair lower, but you don't want it to ever bottom out. So you got to make your adjustments to keep it nice and flat, maybe a hair lower, but when you're coming down, you want to make sure you have plenty of clearance, nothing binds underneath. And if so, you have to make your adjustments, tighten your tension. You don't want your pan wobbling. See, you want it nice. I like it a hair loose, but no movement. I just want it to easily go off without them wobbling and no slopping it. That's just a couple tricks I use, and next season this should come through. But these Bridgers number 2s sit original spring still after like 4 or 5 years, and they're still pretty good. I didn't have to put no new lightning spring or anything. So yeah, they work really good for me. I like dogless because it's less parts, less problems. I don't have all this laminated stuff coming through the ground, so all it has to do is clear that little pin, just fall and close. I mean, we evolved good. We don't need that whole lever to flip over. That's more trouble down the road. They work, but if you could change, make it better. I like number 3. Super stakes, I hit rocks. I pound right through rock, never break them. I take them out, reuse them. And then if I don't have a welder for the S-hooks, I get my cable and I just have the cable crimper and I make my own cables however I need it. So that works out pretty good also. And then I just put a Mighty S-hook, I believe they are. And make sure you get heavy duty hardware. You don't want to putz around. Alright, so hopefully that helps you. Helped me. So one more thing that I had an issue with over the winters in the rugged Catskill Mountains, when we would have a lot of snow, which would be at least as deep. If I'd set my traps light, the coyotes would end up coming through the deep snow. So I said, if so, I'll go on my dog right there. So hit the step down latch. Then I would go down a little bit to get the slap out of the pan, get all the slop out, and now they would come through the deep snow and pretty much push their paw down through the deep snow, and it would be so much pressure that by the time they got to the bottom, it would just nick the barely try to catch them, or it would miss them. So I'd get a lot of sprung traps, and I would get them by the tips of their toes a lot of times with the deep snow. So the trick I would learn is that you set it full. Once you hit that step down latch, set higher pressure, keep it all the way up. And then if you're going to put your snow, try not to keep a lot of snow on it if you could help it. Like try to move it down and make it where it's a little bit like that, because if you keep a lot on, you're going to have a lot of pressure and they're going to be pushing all that, and that's going to really try to fire it off before it goes down. So also, if you're setting deep snow, set your pan tension for coyote like 5 pounds. Definitely keep it on the higher end. and keep your step down latch all the way up, because it'll be so much force on it that by the time they get down to the bottom and push, you're a lot more misses and a lot more toe catches where you want to grab them good. So you want to keep it a little harder. They're pushing so much weight of snow down on it. That was a big issue I was having with missing them, and then having them set off my traps on me and barely catching them by the tips. And it was just because our conditions were so severe. We had so much deep snow. Yep, there we go. So I'd keep it full, and by the time they get down to the bottom, yep, pushing it, it'll catch them a lot better. So yeah, that was a big trick we were having issues with: deep snow and cold, freezing, and I like just regular dry dirt. I don't need wax and all that stuff. Just keep it dry. As long as you got nice dry dirt, it's not going to freeze. If you don't want to spend the money, but if you want to spend the money, wax it. It's a lot better.